To watch a Breakfast Central, our next story definitely takes us to what is indeed becoming the most talked about situation here in Africa and also in Nigeria. With the surge in the migration of young Nigerians to Europe, the different sectors of the country have begun to feel the impact of the Japa syndrome. Now, Japa, as the latest slang amongst the Nigerian populace is known, is actually from Yoruba word that stands for run away. Today on Breakfast Central, we will be taking a look at the impact and economical implication of having brain drain for a country like Nigeria. All in this report by Femi Adefisoye.
Japa, which simply means migration, relocation, or change of location, as most Nigerians call it, has been a trending phenomenon in this part of the world. A handful of Nigeria's labor force have been reported to resign from their places of employment to travel abroad, mostly for a new opportunity, a better life, work, or education. In a recent Nairametrics article, human resource managers reported massive resignations by employees in 2022 for academic pursuits and ultimately in search of a better life. We spoke with some immigrants and here's what they had to say.
I think Africans majorly are migrating to the European countries to seek for a better life. Probably because they are not getting what they require from their nation, so they feel traveling to their abroad, like they often say, that they will get a better life there.
First of all, I won't say I have fully migrated because I only went for the purpose of schooling, so I cannot say I have fully migrated. I'll just say I've gone to further my studies. I'm going for my
master's. I'm not just relocating. It's not like I'm going there to stay forever. So after the completion of my program, I would likely come back to the country.
I intend coming back after the completion of my studies, but I wouldn't give a particular date since I don't know what the future holds. If I do my master's and I see opportunities that will get me better, then fine, I'll go for it.
Our country, for example, Nigeria, has a reduced quality of infrastructure. So the people are complaining about quality of roads, quality of electricity and all of that. So because there's a dearth of infrastructure, one. Secondly, the heightened level of poverty in the system, which is caused by the external economic factors, volatile foreign exchange rates, and of course the increase in cost of living. Historically, young people have always, left the country, left the shores of the country to seek greener pastures. I even think it's been kind of enshrined in our DNA, where from the model of people leaving the villages to come into the cities, looking out for good opportunities and all. The proportion of young people in Africa or in Nigeria is better compared to many other countries, even in Europe and America, right? At the moment, over 75% of our population is under 35. So that already shows you that the talent of the future, really, everyone will look to Africa, to provide that manpower and all of that. So there will definitely be that, will I say, exchange, that, what is sometimes called brain drain, but I maybe do not fully agree with that school of thought. So in terms of impact, I'll tell you, I was talking with one of my friends in the bank, and she said, Ulari, I'm now doing the job I was doing as an entry level because everybody that's supposed to do my job, the job of an entry level has gone, and she's in the manager level. So of course, in terms of the impact this is causing on the organizations within Nigeria. One, there's a heightened level of low morale, because every day you can come to work and see that your friend, your workmate is gone. So you're like, okay, maybe I need to find my own way too and go. So there's a heightened level of motivation, especially within the system.
How many more Africans will have to japa for a better life in European countries? Will we see an upsurge in the numbers of migrants, or will there be a decrease in the persons leaving the shores of the motherland for a secure future?
Well, a very, very interesting report there. And of course, joining us this morning is GBOLAHAN YUSUF, who's a financial consultant. Thanks for joining us and good morning to you.
Very much. Great to be here.
All right.
Good morning.
Yeah, I mean, I want us to get straight into it. You know, it's not getting better. You know, a couple of years ago, you know, we did have conversations about, you know, the Japa syndrome. You know, a lot of Nigerians, thousands leaving Nigeria. If you look at the statistics for Nigerians who have moved to the UK between 2015 and 2022, those numbers are staggering. So I want you to quickly share with us, you know, why you think these numbers do not seem to be reducing in any way.
Thank you very much. I mean, it's a very difficult one. I think what has happened, particularly with the UK, is that in the past few years we've seen Brexit occur in the UK, which has meant that a lot of the people, a lot of the workforce in the UK that were sourced from other countries have had to leave the UK, and there's just been that gap in the UK with the workforce, with different kind of roles, particularly, which needed to be filled. And at the start of that period, I think a lot of employers over here looked to Africa, in general. And of course, Nigeria takes a very large share of that. And the number of Nigerians were brought in for many of those roles. And I think since then, particularly because most Nigerians and other Africans were able to prove their mettle in their jobs, there's been a shift actually towards West African region to source for labor and workforce in different roles, and health sector, and every other sector where you see Nigerians doing lots of stuff in the UK, and because of that exposure now for Nigerians here, it's going to be very difficult for it to slow down, because you look at the competitiveness in terms of employer. How many Nigerian employers can compete with UK employers? Considering the beating our FX, our currency has taken in the past few years, there's that comparative financial advantage that it gives to you. If you were bold enough as a Nigerian employer to compete with a UK employer in terms of salaries, would you be able to compete with a UK employer in terms of offering competitive healthcare that's available in the UK, competitive power supply that's available in the UK, and this is just the basic infrastructure and all that you need to function as a human being. I think that comparative advantage again in the UK is why you have a lot of the workforce in Nigeria now interested in this role. I've just opened up.
It seems to
just bring it up. It looks like it's reason.
I can imagine, but it's starting to look like it's more of a plight right now, because you do have sectors that are starting to lose their best hands, who are indeed migrating to the United Kingdom. Let me ask you, what impact will this have on the economy? Take, for instance, an economy in Nigeria and the economy of the UK. Can you break this down for us?
Well, it's a double bill, and it can be interpreted in different ways. Of course, these are very challenging times for organizations back in Nigeria. I do know that for the company, where I used to work in Nigeria, when I left, there'd already been like a large group of people leaving before me. And after me, there's been a large number of people leaving as well, which means that the attrition rate within the past couple of years has perhaps doubled, if not quadrupled, from what we used to have. And so it's challenging times for organizations. But I think that if we rise to the challenge in Nigeria, I think this could also be a very big positive. Recall that we've always dealt with unemployment and unemployment issues in Nigeria for as long as I can remember. Of course, we're losing our best hands. That can be hidden. I think it's for us to go back to the drawing board and ensure that we bring up people to fill in those roles. There are lots of people who have the capacity but have not been developed over the years. It's for organizations to take a step back, to invest in those who are left behind, to invest in more training and training, investing, not just getting people to do jobs, but also ensuring that knowledge, trickle down the ladder so that there are people who can always easily step into roles. It's new and it's probably going to cost organizations a lot more money. But at the end of the day, we're going to have more of us who are employed and more of us who are going outside the country, also sending, inflows back into the country in terms of FX inflows. that was also a positive to the economy. So, like I said, it's not totally doom and gloom. It's also losing the best hands, but it's also a lot of employment opportunities, arising back at home in Nigeria. For a population, has been largely unemployed for as long as I remember.
All right, Gbolahan, if you can squeeze this response into 30 seconds or a minute, just to keep in perspective, the Japa syndrome is not just to the UK. There's people going to Saudi Arabia and Australia and Cyprus and Indonesia, wherever. Spain. My way to work this morning, I drove past the embassy. It's a lot of people in a lot of countries in different continents. I want you to, as quickly as possible, tell us, is it rosy for these persons? Are they really going to greener pastures, or are there people who are dealing with a lot of challenges?
I think if you, of course, there are different reasons for different people, but I think if you do a check, you'd find that for most, it is, it is looking for greener pastures. It is wanting to seek for educational opportunities to further degrees. It is wanting to look for experience, global experience in terms of whatever you're doing, to get more, to add more to your portfolio. It is also in terms of, looking for jobs elsewhere. And, literally just, spending a couple of years. Not everybody who has gone back have no intention of coming back to the country. Some of them want to come back to the country, but want to come back with better qualifications and, with a better portfolio, So I don't think it's a case of there being challenges. Of course, there are challenges back at home, but it's more a case of people who are looking to better themselves for their future.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. And we would always love to speak with you, of course, as we get more and more of these details and these stories. Thanks once again for joining us.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you very much.